Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the Danube class shuttle. So, the Danube class shuttle, or runabout, um, is a small, versatile vessel capable of performing a variety of mission roles: short term support, ferrying, scientific research, cargo transfer, and vessel resupply. This flexible, module based, or this flexibility results in the ship's ability to swap out uh, essential module based on the mission profile. Runabouts are most often stationed at larger starbases and deep space stations, where they provide mission support in lieu of larger starships. Uh, Most notably, we get to see this in Deep Space Nine. We did get to see it for sure one episode, maybe two, in season seven of um, The Next Generation. And it is really a very interesting little ship. It's one of those things of it's small enough that you could use it as an actual ship or a shuttle or something in between. Uh, I could very well imagine this being used by lower ranking officers, and maybe one or two enlisted crewmen or whatever, doing kind of ferrying missions or whatever, and then they can rank up, they can get more skills or whatever else, and maybe for like a star base or something, maybe it's a set crew. They get assigned to a ship, and they're just a like 3 4 man crew, so you always have someone there to kind of pilot. You can kind of rotate like a normal ship, someone that's on a fast track of command, and they would technically be in command of their own small ship, something like that. So, being a smaller ship like that, it gives that versatility. We really got to see it used quite a bit in Deep Space Nine as their general purpose, whatever they needed. And yeah, having an ability to be able to swap out modules is very efficient and interesting. I mean, to say it in those two categories, because I mean, uh, you can look it up and you can find different module configurations, whether you want crewing modules, scientific modules, or any mix thereof. Um, Maybe because one setup I remember seeing, essentially you have four different modules you can throw in there. So you could have one as a crewing module, so you can get maybe two beds in there. You can get a medical bay off on the other side, and then the back could be either scientific or cargo or something else. However you want to divide it up. Um, and then the far back could then be used for um, like a common area or whatever else. Now, quite often in watching Deep Space Nine, we get to see the front section, because I think that's really the biggest set that they had for it. So you get to see them sitting around in the front section. There's enough room for them. That's their lounge area and everything else, or whatever. Um, maybe you have like a 2 man crew section, and everybody just kind of rotates through on crashing. A little medical section there, and then the rest of it's just a cargo section, and you could run a small crew just doing that, and then whatever missions and silliness that they get into. uh, it's a possibility here. So looking at the stats that we have from our D6 holocron, this is a starfighter scale. We are at 23.1 meters long. It's 11 metric tons. It's a size 2 starship. It's using space transports for our skill. Has an autopilot of 3D plus 2. We have a crew of 2, although one can take care of piloting and everything else with a plus 5 additional uh, modifier onto your roll. So really, it's just taking your roll up one difficulty category. In all reality. Okay, so our standard configuration has its being able to carry 8 passengers. We have enough cargo capacity for 200 metric tons. We have enough consumables for 1 week. The standard warp drive is a 4, and then we have a 6, and then we have an 8 for about 6 hours. Now, looking at it being a little bit slower than most of the other ships, I figured if we're running this in like Star Wars, I would give it a 12x backup and a 2x primary. We're not looking at being the fastest ship in the fleet on this, um, and having doing the backup and a primary. This would save us a little bit of room, and it does technically have a mini warp core on the top. So I do remember seeing the schematics on that. So it's an interesting concept here. Of course, we're going to have a nav computer. Maneuverability is going to be a 2D. Space is a 7.5, and we can go 1,025 kilometers an hour. So that can, really get up and move in an atmosphere. Our hull is a 3D, and we have a 2D plus one for our shields. So that's pretty respectable. It's not too bad. The shields is about where our average, just a little bit above what our average would normally be. So can't complain there. Our hull's a little bit more beefed up, kind of nice. All right, so looking at our sensor package here, passively we can scan for 3 kilometers. We can do an active scan for 8 kilometers. Our search is out to 12 kilometers, and our focus is 500 meters. And the modifiers behind there aren't the strongest, but for a small little ship like this, it's pretty respectable. Having a passive at a plus 1D, our active scan is a plus 1D plus 2, our search is a 2D, and our focus is a 2D plus 2. That's not bad, really. We've seen a lot worse in a lot of the other ships that we've looked at and all that in the past, especially if you look at the ships that I do for Star Wars. We've had somewhere passive as a 0D and all that stuff. So this is not all that bad. All right, so we do have 6 Type 6 phaser arrays. So we have 2 for 360 degrees ventral, 2 360 degrees dorsal, and let's see, we have a 180 degree dorsal starboard, 180 degree dorsal port. So really in any direction you should be able to shoot 2 to maybe 3 times. We do have a crew of 1 needed for that. That's our pilot and gunner. Let's see, we have a fire control of plus 1D plus 1. And it's at a fire rate of 1. So that means that you can only shoot 1 time per weapon. So if we were just to say something's flying on top of you, your dorsal is going to be 2 360 degree phaser arrays. So you could shoot twice at 6D damage. And that's pretty respectable for what we've seen here on D6 Holocron. All right, and then we have the micro torpedo launcher. It is forward facing, starfighter scale. Fire control is 1D plus 1. We have 50 torpedoes. That is actually a lot of torpedoes in a small little ship like this. Just keeping that in mind. Now it is a spread of 1, and that is, let's see, a 2D plus 1 for our damage. Most of the time, a lot of these get to be or end up being probes and stuff like that. So I do want to throw that out there. Now we do have the photon torpedo module. So if you actually strap that onto the top, that's still going to be that same crew of 1. Fire control is only going to be a plus 2, spread of 1, but it does 10D damage. So that's your really big gun that we're strapping on there. And we would have a total of 4 Type 2 photon torpedoes. All right, now we're looking at 2 Class Beta tractor beams, one in the forward, one in the aft. So one of the um, fire control is a +2, and strength is a 5D +2. Now we do see these actually hauling quite a few bigger ships around. Um, they're kind of being at times they are used very much like a tugboat. So, it is kind of what it is. All right, so we do have Spartan crew quarters, 2 Spartan quarters here. We have 1 deck, 1 escape pod, which really is the front of the ship. Year commissioned is 2368 due to Earth reckoning. We do have 1 transporter pad with 2-person capability, and we have 6 probes on board. Um, and of course, then they go on about the optional torpedo module, which we kind of covered the stats on. We do have the escape pod, which does talk about the Danube class. Does not have escape pods or a separation system, as those systems are commonly understood. However, the cockpit is able to detach from the main body of the ship to either continue moving impulse power only or act as an escape pod of sorts. Uh, so that's really where that comes down to. Okay, and then we have history and technical, and I'm not going to kind of bore you on that. It's not really that it's boring. It's just that it's just I know there's plenty of other people that cover a lot of this stuff, and I really want to bring all this stuff really just into our D6 universe, and that all depends on how you want to play it. And like all this stuff that I kind of bring out, um, do you want to do Star Trek and Star Trek, but just use the D6 system for it? Then by all means do it. Like for me, I would love to have the Star Trek in the Star Wars universe and just kind of go from there. And as I had mentioned in previous videos, where I've said, having an explorer core, and these ships would be part of that. Um, and as we go on and kind of trudge through, to me, this would be a perfect opportunity to say, we have a lot of our older vessels from the Galactic Civil War. We're moving forward with a new ship style for our exploration core. But these will also kind of hit some of our other areas and do whatever, which really fits a lot of what Starfleet was really kind of known for, is its science and exploration. So I like to keep it in that regard. Now that doesn't mean that they couldn't get pressed into service as warships, which we do see happen in Star Trek, but it is not their primary focus. So that's my kind of take on it. Uh, Wanting to add this into a Star Wars universe setting. So whether that's something you're interested in or something that you're not interested in or whatever, that's all up to you, and that's all fine. To me, it's just my silliness and my desire just to take all the stuff that I love and throw it all in one universe and have fun with it. So with that, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you stop by. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.